Well, today, the whole world is celebrating a very popular food and beverage combination. So I thought I'd offer up a unique take on one of them in this week's Brittany's Bites. Okay, this may be the best holiday of the year. International Beer and Pizza Day? Come on! All right, you provide the beer, I'll provide the pizza recipe. So we all have had takeout pizza. We have our favorite: cheese, pepperoni, sausage, the works, whatever. So we're gonna go a little bit different than that, just to give you something else in the wheelhouse if you're gonna make a pizza, especially if you're gonna make one at home. First of all, start with a crust that's already made. Or you can get even the ones that you can knead out yourself. They're sort of in the little dough ball. That's great. Just make it easy on yourself if you don't want to start completely from scratch. These are very convenient. You can get gluten-free ones, cauliflower crust, anything that might suit your taste and your need. I just got one that was on sale, if I'm going to be honest. It's a thin crust. Here we go. I just did a little olive oil on top, and I have my oven preheating to 425. Now, what are we going to make? We're going to make a caramelized onion and apple cheesy pizza. I'll come up with a better, shorter name maybe, but it has all of those ingredients, and it's a little bit outside the norm of your normal flavors like tomato sauce and mozzarella, right? So I already got started because this takes a little time. We're gonna take half a white onion and then take a little butter and we're gonna caramelize it. So basically it takes 15 minutes, and you wanna make sure that you're continually stirring it so they don't get burned. We want them sort of browned and softened, but not burned. We're gonna say this is pretty good right now so that we can move on to our next step. So basically I'm just gonna take these out. I've got a bowl here, and then we're gonna start with our apples and put those in next. And I just really like these flavors together. I got almost all of my little onions out here. And then I just have one green apple. Those are tart and those are really great to work with the cheese and the creaminess of the cheese. So I just sliced it up really thinly here, and I did put a little lemon juice on it just so they wouldn't get totally brown. So we're gonna just soften these up for about 5 to 10 minutes or so, I think. So we'll just get these going, and then we will move on to our next step of building the pizza. So if you're gonna get cheese and you want it to be really melty, you probably know the trick. You wanna go ahead and get it in the block and shred it yourself, which I did. When you get the pre-shredded kind, so easy, so convenient, but in order to make the cheese not stick together, they put a little like coating on it, and that sort of inhibits the melting process. So just a tip there, if you really want melty cheese, buy a block, shred it yourself. So that's what I've done with this fontina. And I'm just gonna spread it all along the bottom of the crust. You can see it's already just so light and fluffy. It's gonna melt down so nicely. We wanna get it all the way out to the edges there. And then once I do this, I do have some brie I'm gonna put down, but I think I'm gonna put down the other ingredients first. Now, had I known how much this was gonna spread, I might have even done a little bit more fontina than this, but we're gonna go with this. It'll be a lighter pizza because of that, right? Okay, after that, I'm gonna put down the apples and just kind of spread them all out. And once I get these spread out, I'm gonna put the onions on top of that. So give me just a minute to do this. Okay, I've got my apples down. Now, I think these are cool enough to touch. I'm gonna put the caramelized onions around on top. It's starting to look so good. Let me tell you what, it smells great in here as well. Now, back to that brie cheese I was talking about. I did a little bit of slices here, and then I'm just gonna place these around like this, so that that'll sort of like melt and create little oozy pockets of yummy brie cheese. Ooh, can't wait to try this. It's gonna be so yummy. You know, thyme, especially dried thyme, can be a really powerful flavor if you're sensitive to it. I'm just gonna sprinkle a little on top. And there we are ready to go in the oven. Let me just tell you, it's gonna be good like it is, but we're gonna have one more little thing we're gonna put on top that is really just gonna bring it all together and make it pop. But we have, as I said, the oven preheated to 425 degrees. I'm just gonna pop it in for about 10 minutes or so. Definitely keep an eye on it. You want the edges to just be golden brown. This pizza is now out of the oven. The crust is nice and crispy because it's the thin crust, and it's still very hot, so I'm gonna be careful not to touch the pan. And then everything is melty on top. The cheese, it smells so wonderful, so we're gonna finish it off with a couple of other things. You probably know by now that I love spice, so I'm just gonna put a few red pepper flakes on top. I wanna make sure that I don't overdo it, so I'm gonna put it in my hand first, sprinkle those on, and then here's the fun part. We're gonna do a little honey. It's gonna be creamy. We're gonna have the sweetness of the apples and a little bit of the sweetness from the caramelized onions, and then, you know, the savory, gooey cheese, and then a little hint of sweetness. So I'm just gonna drizzle it lightly on here, and that we'll do it with our cheesy caramelized onion apple pizza for International Beer and Pizza Day. So grab a beer, make up this recipe, and enjoy it. Cheers. Well, if you have a picture of one of my recipes I've made you want to share, or an idea for a future segment, love taking those too, you can text us at 614-460-3345 or find me on social media. And you know, my take is it is never too early for pizza.